I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here we talk about psychology and true crime. I apologize, y'all. I thought I scheduled this for 6 p.m. and it accidentally got scheduled for 5:15. It has been one of those weeks. And so thank y'all for being here. Today, we are going to talk about a difficult case. Maxwell Anderson was found guilty of unaliving Sade Robinson, so it's Sade, Sade Robinson, and she was 19 years old, a beautiful college student that was just on a date with a guy that I don't think she was aware of his history. So, based on some reporting that I saw, and I have it linked down below, he had been charged with assault and some other offenses in the past. And I don't think she was aware of that. And I think he had this sadistic area in his basement where the police believe like she lived some of her that's where some of her last moments were spent. He not only took her off the earth, he also um her body was found, so trigger warnings, her body was found in pieces. And the judge in this case did a phenomenal job. This is now one of my favorite sentencing videos. And so I wanted to share this with you all and talk about it and react to this sentencing. All right, let's get it queued up. And then we're also, so my birthday is tomorrow. So this is also a birthday celebration stream. After the case, I will chat with you all a little bit more about that. She was an absolutely beautiful young lady, and the judge just did a really nice job, I think, honoring her as he was sentenced. And before this, I'm not going to play his statement because in law and crime or court TV, they all have his statement because before sentencing, he talked about I'm innocent and I'm wrongly convicted, and he wants the real person to be found, and all the evidence points to him. A jury of his peers convicted him, and it's my understanding there was very strong evidence in this case that he was the one to do the thing, and the judge is going to talk about some of that. Let's go on ahead and listen to this, and I'll put the closed captions on, and we are going to be at normal speed.
I did read the letters that were supplied on behalf of Mr. Anderson, and I do agree. They paint a picture of a man who helped his family when in need, who cared for animals, who went out of his way to love and support his family. But they love him, and that's clear. And that weighs on his behalf. You know, the fact that there are people out there that care and love him, that says something good. You know, quite often we do trials or we go to sentencing and there's no one here on the behalf of a defendant, which is really tragic and sad. So it says something good that a family does still care about him. I have reviewed the pre-sentence and I've taken into consideration what's stated therein. I have to look at whether you're remorseful, and I don't think you're remorseful in any way. I don't think that you have gotten to the point of taking any form of responsibility for what transpired. You know, the investigation that was conducted in this case, it was a dedication by numerous law enforcement officers to work tirelessly to put together the pieces to determine exactly what happened underlying this matter. You know, I do think that jury trials, they do re-victimize the victims. You know, it's hard to sit and watch a trial. It's hard to see the details, and it's hard not even to have known Miss Robinson, to wipe from my mind what you saw during that trial. And I didn't love her. I didn't know her, but you did. And that's a hard last thing to have in your minds. So I do understand how trials do re-victimize the victims. So when I look at the character of the defendant, I find the character wanting. When I look to the severity of the offense
Very severe.
underlying this matter, I do sit in homicide court, and I can tell you on a daily basis, you don't understand why things happen. Almost every case, the victims come in and they want to know why. Why did it happen? Why did you have to do this? Why did you have to get to that point? And more often than not, there's no answer. We never know. It never makes sense. There's never do you walk away and say, oh, I understand why that transpired. It just doesn't happen. I can also tell you that, I've read through all these letters and they talk about give us justice, right? Give us what's due.
This was powerful.
But I can't give you justice. There's no way you will walk out of here, no matter what I do today, and high five each other. There's no way you walk out of here and you say justice is served, because justice would be having Miss Robinson back to you. Justice would be having her with you for the rest of your lives. And you never get that. To hear about her, she was an innocent victim. She was a girl that I would hope all young ladies strive to be. To hear about working 2 jobs to reach her goals, to be going on for schooling and further education, but then to hear about how much she was loved in the community by almost everyone that touched her. It was interesting to go through the letters, because I got the letters that were from who I expected, the mother, the father, the sister, the loved ones. I also got a letter from the real estate agent that worked with Ms. Scarborough. I got a letter from citizens. And I can't tell you, I really debated whether or not I would share this, but there was a letter from a citizen that doesn't know Ms. Robinson, never met her. And this is what he said, or she said, I don't know. The person signed it as Stargazer. In pertinent part, it says,
All right. So I want you all to prepare yourself for this letter. So just somebody watching sent in this very powerful letter and statement. Sometimes judges don't include this, but it is very, very powerful. So let's go on ahead and take a listen to this.
Sade Robinson was not a torso. She was not evidence. She was a full, living, radiant human being. She had dreams, plans, and a future she was building with pride. She had people who loved her and that still love her, more than words can hold. And she had a right to live, to breathe, to laugh, to grow old. That right was stolen in a way so vile, so deliberate, that it tears at the fabric of what we call humanity. You, Maxwell Anderson, didn't just kill her. You carved her and you discarded her like garbage. And you tried to erase her body from this earth piece by piece. And for what? Not even you had the courage to say. You sat there in court as if you were a man. You didn't snap, you planned. You didn't panic, you dismembered. And still you offer no answers, no remorse, no ounce of dignity that you stripped from her. But here's what you couldn't take. You could not mutilate her soul. You could not silence the scream of justice. You could not prevent an entire community from rising up in Sade's name. We know who she was. We know what she could have become, and we will not let your darkness define her.
We will not let your darkness define her. I thought that was so powerful, and the judge is going to go on and continue to read this letter, but So often when watching these true crime cases, and that's why even for the thumbnail, I wanted to make sure to include a picture of Sade as well, um, because sometimes the defendant becomes infamous or like we remember their picture. I wanted to make sure to remember her. And I wish the camera had cut to him, and he probably wasn't reacting. He was probably just sitting there stone faced. um, I wouldn't be surprised if there were some antisocial, psychopathic, especially with his history of breaking the law multiple times. It's my understanding he has a long criminal record. I would not be surprised if he met criteria for antisocial personality disorder. I can't say that he does or does not for sure. That did not come up, but he definitely did not show any remorse for this, even post conviction, and he talked about that he's going to appeal this. Let's keep listening to the letter. She's still reading the letter.
To the family, there are no words that can hold the weight of your pain, but I need you to know we see you. We mourn with you. We love you. You have the right to tears. You have the right to rage. You have the right to every ounce of justice this system can give. May you feel her arms in the wind. May you hear her laughter in your memories. May you know that she did not die forgotten, she died loved, and we will remember her always. Maxwell Anderson, you are not the center of this story. She is,
Yes.
and she will always be. Sade Robinson lives on in light, in truth, and in love. And you will be remembered only as a man who tried to destroy something beautiful,
Yeah.
but failed. I thought that was beautiful. And I think that it shows the impact that this had on the community. You know, that took time and effort and
Right.
thought. And I think it put together a lot of what the community felt. So going back to what I need to look at. In formulating a proper sentence, I need to look at the character of the defendant. I need to look at the severity of the offense.
Very severe.
To take away a child is horrific. You wouldn't wish that on anybody. To have a child not outlive the parents is a horrible thing. But not only did you extinguish her life, but you hid it, and you hid her body to be found. And I can only imagine every time a news report, every time something clicks.
So what happened in this case is she went missing, and I'm trying to find the history of it because um I want to say, but because I want to make sure that I'm giving it to you all correct. But she went missing. It was April of 2024. And then the first piece that was found was a leg. And they had to do DNA testing to determine um, w- who this belonged to. And then multiple other body parts were found later. And so for the family to have to go through that, that is just very, very horrific. Some people have asked about Maxwell Anderson, and so he lived in Wisconsin most of his life. Briefly served in the Navy for a year, so that's where the circumstances of his departure remain unclear. Because him only being in the Navy from April of 2011 to January of 2012, that so I'm sure people will try to look to if there is anything that's public record. He served as a bartender at several places in Milwaukee. Before Robinson's death, she and Anderson were on a date. Were seen. Yeah, they were seen going on a date to the seafood restaurant where he worked. He had a lengthy criminal history. This is according to the information I found online, which includes DV, drunk driving, and disorderly conduct. And when they searched his home, they found what they called like a sex dungeon. And I don't know how much of that came into trial because sometimes some information is kept out. I do believe at least one person is did actually watch the trial. Um, it's just absolutely horrific. Okay, we're gonna keep it going.
that another body part was found, how it had to
Yeah,
just re-victimize this
everything.
family, how it had to just be like another shot to their soul. I can't imagine how horrific that had to be. And yet, I wonder which was worse, the not knowing in those first days where she was.
Mhm.
You know, it's, I can't even think of a word, horrific. It's beyond imaginable for a parent to think of not being able to know if your children are dead or alive, and then to learn that they were dismembered and disgraced to the extent that this poor girl, her body endured, um, is beyond understanding. So
And his lawyer asked for him to get 25 years. Like, that is what his lawyer I think his lawyer asked for something like 25 years or to be eligible for parole after 25 years. Mm,
the severity of the offense, I'll agree. It's
severe.
it's definitely at the top of some of the worst homicides I've seen in this court. Looking at the impact on the community, I read that letter because I thought it stated to a great extent what we're here about. You know, what my job is to do, it is to hold you accountable and to punish you. It is also to protect society.
Mhm.
And that's about how do we figure out if at some point you're redeemable? How do we figure out if at some point you will change your mindset? You will get the therapy and education to be at a point where you will be safe to have in the community. Now, part of that goes into the fact that you don't take responsibility.
And that's a
You know,
problem.
I listened to the evidence. I watched what was introduced during the course of the trial. There is
Trigger warnings, it's gonna get a little graphic, so just trigger warnings.
no explanation that I've heard that's valid as to why you would be walking away from that burning car. You know, those photos were not of a girl in a video enjoying life. Those photos of you grasping the breast that was ultimately shaved from her body, um, with her face plastered into that. I don't recall if it was the
I haven't
ottoman
seen
of
the
the
picture.
couch, the way that her body was positioned. There's no explanation for that. I don't need to rehash the evidence. I've gone through all my notes from this trial, and I think that Attorney Vance Curzan did a nice job of summarizing and pertinent part the details. But there's no answer that you briefly provided in this pre-sentence that makes even a hint, that even resonates with a hint of truth.
Mm.
So how do we protect society from a man who clearly has had darkness in his past, who engaged in behavior that is, it's the facts that you see written in horror novels. That's what we have to determine. And you know, it isn't easy. I can tell you that when you think about, is there ever something redeemable in a person? You'd like to say at some point there is. And I can tell you that at the points in life where I've
Mm.
come to the conclusion that there isn't anything redeemable, you know, you do think about, I think it takes away a little piece of my soul. How
And, I like how she said that, because as a judge, she's trying to see, is there anything redeemable in this person? And it is really hard when you look at a situation and you look at a person and you're like, "I just don't find anything. I can't find anything." And that is hard. That is why I don't do forensic work because I think this does come up in forensic work. The work I do is, people deciding to come for treatment, people seeking out help and support. And so that's why I enjoy the clinical work I do. For YouTube, I like talking about these mental health topics and talking about the families, but the way that this judge talked about the all the evidence that came forward and just the impact that a trial has on the victim's family, and just all of this, I just thought this was so powerful. So we're gonna keep it going. She's almost to the
How
sentence.
come I couldn't find anything good? How come I can't find anything that I can say at some point you'll be a better person? So ultimately, at sentencing, considering the seriousness of the offense, your character, and the needs of society. This is clearly not a probation case. Probation would unduly depreciate the seriousness of the offense and isn't even allowable under our law. You are sentenced to a term of life imprisonment, and that is what the penalty is for a jury of your peers ultimately coming back and convicting you on first-degree intentional. In this case, I didn't see a restitution request.
They're gonna do that.
We are asking for a restitution hearing and we've pre-selected a date.
Thank you. We'll be setting restitution off to be determined at a later date. Relative to this matter, I have considered the seriousness of the offense. I have weighed your character, and as I've indicated, I find it wanting. I've also reflected on the needs of society, and are you a good risk? And sadly, you're not.
Mm.
As to
Very thoughtful.
my sentence, relative to the nature of the offense, you are not eligible for challenge incarceration. You're clearly not eligible for any substance abuse programming. Restitution will be determined at a later date. You do need to submit a biological specimen to the state crime lab and pay the surcharge thereof. You do have the right to appeal, and if indigent, you have the right to the assistance of the public defender. What you need to understand is that a notice of intent to pursue post-conviction relief must be filed in the trial court within 20 days after sentencing for your rights to be preserved. You have been convicted of a felony. You may never possess a firearm. If you do, you're looking at 10 years of imprisonment, a $25,000 fine, or both. You may not possess body armor at any time in the future. If you do, you'll be subject to 15 years of imprisonment, a $50,000 fine, or both. You cannot vote in any election.
And so that was really the gist of it. He ended up getting sentenced um to life in prison without the it's my at least life in prison. Every state is different, and so this was Wisconsin, and that was his sentence. And the judge was just so thoughtful. That letter from Stargazer was so powerful, and so I wanted to just share those words here. Judges don't always share anonymous letters because the person, they didn't even put their name, they weren't really connected to to the incident in any way, and the judge didn't base her decision based on anything in the letter. I think it just helped the judge formulate any thoughts or any last things to say as part of sentencing. And I am glad that um that it was shared, and that Sade Robinson, that her light gets to live on, and that but she, injustice would be if she was still here. And so very difficult thing. Please know there is a case out of, it was the one, he's a teacher that was arrested um for unaliving the parents in on that trail, Arkansas. And it's my understanding that this teacher, so some statements have come forward where this accused teacher, his name is Andrew McGann. This was the Devil's Den State Park. Uh, and some parents that were, 'cause he's been a teacher for years, but he's moved to multiple states. And so some information about him is coming forward. I am keeping an eye on that information as it comes forward. And then whenever this goes to trial, this will be a case that I will follow. Right now, they're not saying because the parents were unalived in front of their two daughters. And so my heart goes out to those victims. I think the parents were trying to save their girls, and their sacrifice. Like it might be why the girls are still here. And just another hiker found the girls, and the incident was reported, and he was arrested. And they might have to testify. I don't know, because it's my understanding that this incident happened in front of them. Nobody's saying that there was anything with the girls, but there are parents coming forward saying that he paid special attention to girls in his class, that the girls would get special candy, or that the girls would have special lunches with him. And so if my child had been in a class of his, it's not that I would sit them down, and I would just ask in general, like, was there anything that made you uncomfortable? I would just check in with my student. And the fact that he moved states every year, not just schools, he moved states. um I think it was in 4 years. Maybe it was 4 states in 4 years, or 3 states in 3 years. One of the two of those. He only stayed at a school for a year, and then he moved out of state, and that seems that seems odd. Um, Once again, I advocate for a national child harm registry. Just and there's no indication that there was ever anything alleged with him and children, but it's just there are some red flags for me personally in hearing about this case, and in hearing these things. Thank you so much, Rich Auntie. Off topic, you look very pretty. So I got my real ID. So I already had a passport card that I can fly with. And today I had my DMV appointment. If your DMV offers appointments, I felt super fancy. Okay. I felt like I had paid for lightning lanes at Disney, or I don't know, because there was a line of like 30, 40 people waiting to check in at DMV, and there was nobody in the appointment line. So I walk straight up to the counter, and I was in and out of DMV in 25 minutes. And a part of that was filling out the application and then just taking my picture and doing all those things. And so, um, uh, yeah. Um, and Teresa, it sounds like the schools, and if the school is aware that some of his behaviors were just weird, because it was my understanding he got along better with children than adults, which is another red flag for me. He preferred talking to children than talking to adults, and so there are some. Just for me personally, there are some red flags, and so nothing that we know of, but like, ooh, it just sounds weird. Um, Thank you for sharing this. That Grizzly True Crime has a full sentencing from last week. And then an interview with the detective. Okay. Uh yeah. Okay. So Afton, thank you for adding this. One school fired him for poor classroom management, but found no misconduct. And with the kids, yeah. Because so it's there were things that were strange and possible, because it's my understanding that like so according to one of the parents, and so the reports that I read, it was something about sometimes girls would sit on his lap, and there was never any indication that anything happened, but those are red flags for me personally. And if I was a parent, no, my child cannot sit on your lap, or no. So my kids' school, they sometimes the teachers do lunch bunch, where they have students that have earned lunch with the teacher. They have lunch with the teacher. The door is open. It's something, it's something that any student can earn. It's not like it's only this one particular student always gets this preferential treatment. That is a bit of a red flag for me personally. So somebody mentioned a case. Let me uh, ma- do, do, do. Oh, so this was the case out of Georgia, but this was the one he was they actually found that the mother of the child, because the mother of the child tried to say that this man tried to abduct her kids, and it was very clear that no, he I saw the Walmart video where he was looking for a particular type of medicine. He was struggling to find it. And the kids were sitting on their mom's, like the mom was in a cart. And it was very clear that he never attempted to, and from what I saw, my thoughts on the video, he never attempted to harm the children. He was just a friendly guy, and eh, so I've been in the store, and an older, really friendly person walked up to my son, and she tried to pinch at him, and I just said, "Ah, no, no, please, no, don't touch my kid." And the woman walked away. I never called the police. Like, she wasn't trying to harm my child or anything like that. She was just super friendly. And my thing is, no, you don't. For me personally, you don't touch my kid. That was my thing. Um, I wonder if so the state filed the charges. The Walmart video, I don't think he's gonna be convicted. Like, when you see the video, when you hear the testimony, so I saw his bond hearing. I don't know if I reacted to it on my channel or not, but, I watched the video of the surveillance, and it's my understanding that the woman even the Walmart employees were kind of confused by the situation. And so I just, yeah. Locally in my state, there was an attempt I think it was Fairfax County, I think at a mall a little further north from where I am. And so people just have to watch your kids. You gotta watch your kids. Um, but it was somebody that he was actually out on bond from another criminal incident. And I think he had already done multiple crimes since being out on bond. Because I think he was arrested in with like a stolen car or something. And so um, uh, yeah, it's really, really ridiculous. And so, um, uh, um, yeah, I think it was at his bond at the Patel at his bond hearing where there was clapping when he was granted bond. Um, so I appreciate you all. My birthday is tomorrow. I turn 43, and I so appreciate each and every one of you. I will be uh and so I often I'm gonna come back to this once I finish this right here. I will be out of town Thursday through Saturday through Sunday. So I am not going to be streaming on Saturday. Um uh Somebody a very close, she's like a sister to me. I'm going to support this wasn't planned, like this isn't like a birthday trip. This is, it'll be kind of a sad trip, but going to support a friend. And I'm just glad to be able to be there as a friend. I talked about being a crap friend, but when my friends need me, I am there. Does that make sense? So like, I if you need me, I will be there. I will not call regularly because I'm bad at that. But I will. If you need me, I will be there. My husband, because if you saw me talking to somebody, because my husband bought a whole bunch of cookies. I love, love, love cookies. And so today my husband went and bought cookies, and we have ice cream. And he was asking, like, can we go on ahead and have cookies and ice cream today and tomorrow? So we have enough to have cookies and ice cream today and tomorrow for my birthday. Um, uh, um, Somebody mentioned that multiple people were 28 years old, but I think yeah, um, yeah, no, and ignore Nightbot when Nightbot gets mad at multiple emojis. Just ignore it. Uh, but I am so glad for another year. I'm gonna have a very happy cookie birthday. My son's birthday went phenomenal. Thank y'all for checking out the live streams with Kathy and Ravi. And then I also did a live stream with Paul from Reporting Live from My Sofa. I was so upset because my internet kept like glitching. And so I connect to my directly to Ethernet port, but I still had my Wi-Fi connected, and I think it wasn't coming through the Ethernet port. I'm like, "I have good Wi-Fi." So now I make sure to turn the Wi-Fi off to make sure I'm just using the Ethernet port connection, and so, I appreciate you all. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. I'm gonna go eat dinner. I think I have buttered chicken for dinner, and I am gonna have some cookies and ice cream. And so, I appreciate you all. I hope you have a good one. Bye.